Hey, it's Abby from 10 Sounds. Did you know that an octopus has 3 hearts? Hey, I'm Abby, a clinical nutritionist.
And I'm Shelby, a clinical exercise physiologist, and this is the Move Your Mind podcast.
We are sick and tired of people being led astray by false information about diet and exercise.
So join us as we discuss common misconceptions about food and fitness with the latest scientific research.
Let's get into it.
Hello!
Welcome back.
Welcome back, Abby. We always say welcome back, but to everyone else it's always, I guess it's the same.
It's just another episode release.
But we're like, oh hey, how you doing? How you been?
It's been a good month since we've been sitting in this chair.
We had lockdown and restrictions and a whole bunch of stuff happened, but we're back and recording.
Better than
very
ever.
Fun. Oh, amazing.
Debatable, hey?
I have about 10 weeks left of my pregnancy.
I can't believe it.
I know. It's going by so fast.
Shelby's belly is so perfect. Like, it's like a little basketball. Like, she looks like just a normal Shelby with a perfect little bump.
If I stand straight on, or like you look at me from straight behind, you can't tell.
Yeah.
I turn to the side, it's like, boom.
Question, do you think boy or girl?
Well, I know.
You know.
I know. We're just not telling anyone.
I didn't know that you knew.
I know. I've known for like 3 months.
Oh, and you haven't told me?
No. We haven't told. Well, we've told.
I reckon it's a girl.
Yeah?
Putting it out there right now.
All right.
Girl. Born on the 11th of September.
That's early.
Well, that's what I think.
Or 2 weeks. That's fine. 2 weeks early. But that's like, yeah, that's all right.
Anyways, what you talking about today?
No, because that's 9/11, actually. It can't
we
be
don't want
September
that.
11.
No, okay.
It has to be after.
13th, because that's
Okay.
my mum's birthday.
Oh, sweet. Nice. We'll see. I'll keep you posted.
Good people are born that day. Hey, Mum, if you're listening.
So the reason I bring that up
Yeah.
is because I'm going to talk about exercise during pregnancy.
Yes.
So obviously this is my first pregnancy, and so I've got some personal anecdotes to throw in.
Yeah.
But also this is part of my course and I'm qualified to do this as well. So I'm mostly going to cover like the generic stuff today and like healthy pregnancy stuff today.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to have physio Renee back on the show to talk through a
cool.
few things when you get pelvic pain or you have a few things maybe contraindicating to exercise. And we're going to talk a bit more about that stuff with her. She's going to help me out.
Exciting.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So exercise during pregnancy. I feel like there's still this kind of mainstream idea that you shouldn't exercise
Yeah,
while
there's a
pregnant.
big like stigma around it, I think. Like, you're going to damage the baby.
Yeah, which is insane.
Yeah.
It's very untrue. There you go.
Yeah, here we go.
No.
She's back to revealing the...
No, but yes, still, like there still seems to be this narrative that you shouldn't exercise or so I'm still working, right? I work in a gym and so I don't do anything silly, but I still carry weights around and I help clients load and unload their barbells and stuff.
Yeah.
And some of them get really like antsy about me lifting weights and some of it's like a 5 kilo plate and I'm like, I'm really fine to lift this. It's
Yeah.
okay. And some of them, the heavier ones I get like that. But anyway, so pretty much I'm wanting to just get rid of that whole idea and say that it's actually very, very healthy and helpful to exercise during pregnancy. And we're going to run through that a little bit more
Yeah.
throughout the episode.
Yeah, my understanding is certainly that it can provide benefits. Like, a fear of exercising during pregnancy can actually cause more negative effects.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, definitely the sedentary behaviours. If you
Yeah.
are, then absolutely.
Yeah.
Like anything. And so for the majority of women, and if you have a safe, normal pregnancy, then definitely not really, you shouldn't really think twice about it. You should just. So a really easy way to say that is if you are exercising before pregnancy, then you're pretty good to continue during pregnancy.
And that's another thing that's quite important to note. Like, if you come from a sedentary background, then you fall pregnant, and then you're like, exercise is good, and then you go crazy, that probably is not a great idea.
Yeah. So, yeah, exactly. You're not going to go crazy. But even if you are sedentary before pregnancy, it can be a really nice time to start exercising. It doesn't mean you shouldn't exercise. It just means you be gentle and pretty much treat yourself like anyone else who hasn't exercised before and start exercising like we've spoken about
Slow
many
and
times
steady.
before. Yeah, absolutely. So if you haven't exercised before and you find yourself pregnant and you're like, great, I want to do this and I want to be as healthy as I can, I'm going to start exercising. Usually you'll need a GP clearance or go see an exercise physiologist and they'll help you know whether that's appropriate for you or not. Yeah. Because like I mentioned at the top of the episode, there are a few conditions or pre-existing conditions, illness, things that can happen that mean you have to be a bit more careful when you exercise. And I'll kind of run through a few of those today, but mostly that'll come up next episode. So there are times in which you will need to be more cautious when you exercise while pregnant, but it's fine.
That just makes me think, kind of on topic but off topic, like, are you going to have a chat about like different trimesters and if exercise requirements change or things become more appropriate?
Yeah, sure. There's not much to talk about.
Okay, cool.
But yes, I will touch on it, definitely. So I'd like to first off say that like pregnancy is a state of health, right? Like something's gone right for you to get pregnant. So you're not this like frail being that needs like wrapping in cotton wool. Like for you to get pregnant, your body is running fairly well to prioritize reproductive health and put all this extra energy into making a baby, right?
So true.
Yeah, so it's not a state of injury or anything. You just need to be considerate of a few things.
Yeah.
So it's actually really exciting. And lots of people, mostly to do with food, this is off track slightly, they're like, oh, if I was you, I'd be eating all the donuts and I'd be not worrying about whatever. And I always reply with, this isn't even like bigger opportunity to be healthy. Like it's not just me I'm considering.
Yeah, it's not like a green card to do what you want. Because it's like, this is the time where we be lazy and we eat crap.
No, even more so than ever, I should be selfless and think about this growing thing inside of me and what I can do to give them the best kickstart to life. And exercise has a massive role to play in that.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. So, remember that you are more than likely in pretty good health if you're pregnant. I know that's not the case, and I know you can still have illnesses while pregnant, so I don't mean that in that sense. But something's going okay if you get pregnant. So, it's fine.
Yeah.
Personal on that, I felt so vulnerable when I first found out I was pregnant. So I found out really early, like 6 weeks in, like the day I missed my period, I knew I was pregnant, right? And I felt like I didn't want to do anything, and I didn't want to, so I was rock climbing at the time, I didn't even want to do that, and really it's you're talking about like 2 cells, right? Like there's nothing that you can do.
The size of like a strawberry seed.
Exactly. But I know if my experience is anything to go by, you do feel really like protective of your body, right? And so I definitely went through a phase where I exercised less just because I felt withdrawn from doing things because I wanted to like protect.
Yeah.
And so that took some like reshifting of mindset to go, no, it's okay. Like you can.
And there's always like a fear early stages as well, because you like even more so it's like, oh, what happens if this happens, because it's so new and unfamiliar.
Absolutely. And on that, exercise puts you at no more risk of miscarriage if it's a normal pregnancy, and we'll touch on some things as well. But like as sad as it may be, if you're going to miscarriage, like it's going to happen anyway, whether you exercise or not, in a sense. And I'm not the expert on this, but from like a generic exercise viewpoint, it's not going to increase your risk of miscarriage at all, which I think some people can get a little bit worried about.
Yeah.
Again, like we're going to be smart, and I'll go through a few things that you should be aware of.
Yeah.
But definitely as like a little tidbit to get us started, it doesn't increase your risk of anything bad happening.
Even over like a certain heart rate?
Yeah, so we will talk about that as well, definitely. So we know that exercise improves and or maintains physical fitness and your overall health. That's mental and physical. And so why not like look after that during pregnancy? Like it's still true when you're pregnant. Being pregnant is a massive physical change. Like it's quite a big physical toll on your body, as well as a mental like toll as well, right? And then if you think about most people, when I bring this up, they haven't really considered it. Like the end game of pregnancy is labour. And so half of what I'm doing when I'm training pregnant ladies is prepping them for labour as much as I can. And
so
we know, if you're more physically fit, if you're stronger, labour goes better.
Yeah.
And I've got some more specifics to go over that later. But like mostly what I'm prepping you for is labour and the early months of having a baby. Like pregnancy is just, you're going to get through pregnancy anyway, right? But if we can prep you.
It's like longevity.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm getting out of breath. This is a baby sitting on my lungs. And I get out of breath.
But we were just talking about this before we started recording.
Yeah.
You were like, I'm going on the rower and things like
I'm
that.
feeling good, yeah.
To try and keep my cardiovascular system functioning
Absolutely.
adequately. Because
yeah.
obviously it's under a bit of pressure.
Oh,
it's got to
so
pump
much
blood
pressure.
for
You get like 50%
1.5.
more blood volume when you're pregnant. So you got to push that around. You got a whole other body to push it through that's not doing anything to help. Baby's just floating there.
You listening, baby? Step it up.
But yeah, it's really cool. And so, where was I?
Baby brain, that's another thing.
Oh yeah, so a good point to make is that even though pregnancy is a state of health, it's not a time to focus on weight loss, and it's not a time to focus on personal bests. So most of what you're doing during pregnancy, I would think of as maintenance.
That's what I was just thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're looking at just like straight down the middle road, nothing too crazy, nothing too fancy, just kind of keep moving and go through.
Yeah.
If you are overweight and you become pregnant, what we're trying to do is just prevent excess weight gain during pregnancy. And even if you are overweight, still expect to gain some weight while pregnant.
Yeah. Yeah. The general rule is like the less you weigh before pregnancy, the more you tend to gain.
Yeah. So if you're underweight, you'll gain more weight, hopefully. If you're normal weight, I looked at this ages ago. I'm going to say between like 8 and 15 kilos.
I was thinking like 8 and 11.
Yeah, 8 and 11 maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe 8 and 11. But I'm expecting 50. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, maybe it's. And then if you're overweight, it's less, like 6 kilos or something. Yeah. So definitely not a time to think about getting your beach body back. Tell you.
God, no.
It's not coming anytime soon.
No.
But that's okay. So, yeah, we are maintaining muscle mass. We're doing what we can for your balance and your posture. And then obviously just like that tolerance to physical and mental stress is a big one for me as well. If you can push through a workout, then you will be at the better stage to push in labour. And then also in those first few months when baby is your whole world, you will be able to deal with that stress better. And this is like scientifically supported, right?
Yes.
This has got studies supporting it. Yeah. Cool. So pretty much if you're pregnant, you're still just treated as general population. So the same exercise guidelines apply, 150 minutes of aerobic activity a week, 2 resistance training sessions per week.
Yep.
Nothing really changes as far as like what you're expected to get done. So try for 30 minutes a day. I definitely haven't kept that up the whole time. You get really tired during for me it was the first trimester. And so I definitely dropped off training during the first trimester. So that's like for 1 to 12 weeks. And then 12 to like 28 weeks is considered second trimester, and I felt okay. But now like pressure's on, I've got 10 weeks left, and I'm kind of like feeling a bit more like if I can be consistent in the next 2.5 months, then like it'll be really
setting
good.
myself up for success.
Yeah, so you're still treated the same. So we know we've run through some of these before. Prevent excessive weight gain is a really nice reason to exercise. You can reduce the aches and pains that are associated with gaining weight, and particularly all out in front.
Yes.
So I've had a few like pelvic pain things, and sometimes my back hurts and things like that. But doing a workout makes me feel better.
Yeah, because the reason why muscles would hurt is because they're taking an increased load. So if you are putting a little bit of stimulus through your muscles to help them manage load, that can't do bad things.
That's exactly right. Yeah, exactly right. And you also get this hormone called relaxin that starts flowing through your body just happily, which is good because my pelvis needs to move for baby.
Yes.
But otherwise, every other joint feels like jelly. So if I can if I can feel that muscle contraction while I work out, it makes me feel so much more stable and like looked after for the rest of my day, because I know that I have that muscular support, even though my ligaments are getting a bit more floppy.
Yeah, and that's interesting to know, because that's mainly for your pelvis relaxing.
Yeah.
You know, so you've got, you know, that many other joints.
Absolutely. It can't just like spot pick and just release my pelvis. Everything gets all loosey. And so it feels a bit funny. And definitely like the aching in my back and stuff, I can feel is related to just like sinking into it more.
I'm just picturing my spine right now. If and when I fall pregnant, like just noodle. Goodbye.
Well, no, because you have the muscles there to support. You don't need.
Well, that's why exercise would be so important for me.
And things like swelling, you can keep a lot of the swelling at bay, because muscles act as a really, really good pump to drain things.
Lymphatic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So really nice to manage any swelling. Gestational diabetes is a thing.
I was thinking. Yeah.
So the exercise can be really nice to prevent that, but help manage it if you do get it. And I'm going to save the rest of that for when we talk with Renee, just because a different opinion on it as well.
Yeah.
Exercising can even increase your energy. So even when you're feeling so tired, being active has this weird loop of giving you more energy as well.
Oxygen delivery to muscles.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The mental health benefits of it as well, and just waking you up. So yeah, absolutely. Even if you're feeling really, really tired, I'd encourage you to do some exercise or some physical activity of some kind. Then improves your mood, improves your posture. It can help you sleep better. So I've found that if I am active throughout the day, I definitely sleep a lot better. That's kind of like anyway, right?
Yeah.
That's a given.
I feel that too.
But yeah, you think that sleepless nights only come when baby comes, but this whole pregnancy, my sleeping has been weird and light, and I toss and I turn, and then things start hurting right when you're sleeping. So if you can wipe yourself out before bedtime, that makes it a lot easier. So resistance training during pregnancy, especially compared to sedentary individuals, doesn't make you more likely for preterm labour, doesn't make you more likely for a C-section delivery, because usually we are trying to avoid that, most people anyway. And it gives better outcomes as far as you're less likely to have lower back pain if you are doing resistance training. You might have a shorter labour duration, which is really nice. Ooh. So if you're active during pregnancy, labour can be quicker.
Is that through like increased muscle?
I don't know. Yeah. Don't really.
I'm
thinking more like that kind of body awareness point of view. Like muscles know the contract, relax routine pretty well, so it's happy to go. You're in tune with your body, things like that.
Mind muscle type of situation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you can have a faster return to activity post having baby if you're fitter during pregnancy. So they are all really good reasons, in my opinion, to stay active. And then we also know that there's time after birth where you have to look after baby, like all the time.
Get excited.
Yay. And so we have this kind of like enforced sedentary time in those first 4 to 6 weeks probably. You're recovering from this massive physical feat that you've done. No matter how you give birth, it's massive on your body. And so like if you already have this imposed sedentary time, you want to stay as active as you can prior to that, right? You want to minimize that time of lessened physical activity. So if you stay active for as long as you can during pregnancy, then that time of less activity has less of a toll on you.
Yeah.
It hasn't been for so long.
Definitely.
Yeah. And it will give you better stress tolerance, like I've said before.
I'm just thinking my episode that we're about to record is metabolic rate. So I'm also thinking about that, like sedentary behaviour has a risk of reduced metabolic rate slightly. So then if you maintain muscle mass, which we know increases metabolic rate during pregnancy, you're at a reduced risk of functioning lower.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Brings you back to health quicker, which is pretty much exactly what you're saying.
Exactly, yeah. And that all just falls under like kind of common sense of if you're more physically fit, you can handle things better anyway. And pregnancy and birth is just one of the things that we can loop under that handle things kind of
definitely.
umbrella. Also, if we have already set up exercise as like a stress relief for you, then that will come into handy in those first, or the fourth trimester, they call it, those first 3 months after having baby. If that's a good go-to for you to exercise, then I think you're setting yourself up really well for that too.
Yep, psychological benefits.
Absolutely.
Always comes into play.
Absolutely. So things to avoid when you're exercising, just as far as like a really generic kind of thing. Mostly try and avoid your risk of falling.
Of course.
Right?
Yes.
Or getting hit in the stomach. Or things. So baby, and then they sit in amniotic fluid, which is really shock absorbing, which sits in your uterus, which is surrounded by organs and muscle and skin. So it's pretty well like insulated in there anyway.
Protected.
Exactly. But you're still going to want to avoid any blows to your belly as much as you can.
Don't start to take up touch rugby or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this might be a time to let it go. And like I stopped rock climbing, or I stopped bouldering, which is where you do it with no ropes. I stopped that fairly early on because you can down climb, but if you have to jump, it just weirded me. It freaked me out. It wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
So I stopped.
Feel like I'd be the same.
Yeah, and then even rope climbing where you have a harness, it just freaked me out. Like I wasn't going for any hard reaches because I didn't want to have to sit back into my harness. Yeah, absolutely. But I know people, particularly in rock climbing, who do climb for much longer than I did. But yeah, we want to avoid rapid stretching or overstretching. So this is because of that hormone you were mentioning, relaxin is going through. So you have less end range support from ligaments. So you don't want to be overstretching because you can cause injury that way. You want to avoid exercising in really hot conditions because you are worse at thermoregulation when you're pregnant, and also if you have to focus on cooling yourself off, then blood comes away from your midsection into your skin to help evaporate and cool off. And you want to be avoiding things that pull blood away from your belly, obviously, right?
Definitely.
And then along the same lines, avoid getting dehydrated, making sure you're dressing properly for where you're exercising. Things are comfortable, kind of like that.
Yeah.
We want to avoid breath holding, so the Valsalva maneuver where you and then push through your squat or whatever. We want to avoid that because of the changes in blood pressure that cause.
Yes.
So again, you don't want to have these rapid changes anytime. So make sure you're breathing through your exercise. Another one that I was kind of interested in or surprised by when I started looking into it was isometric exercise. So anything where you're holding yourself in one position, like a plank, they suggest to avoid. Again, I think because of that restriction in blood flow and then the consequences of then moving after having stood still.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Again, those changes, fluctuations in
keeping
blood pressure and heart rate.
consistency through your cardiovascular system.
Yeah, exactly. So then the way I get around that with clients and myself is if you really want to do a plank, which is fine, then I'd add a toe tap in, or I'd add even just a scapular movement or something, just something that keeps you moving and flowing through. And then
probably adds in a bit of breath too if you can add in an inhale, exhale. I'm thinking Pilates vibes.
Exactly, yeah. And then so that kind of carries on as well to, they specifically mentioned some poses in yoga, which I'm not as familiar with, but tree pose, so you can stand with one foot up next to the opposite knee and you can stay there for a while, or some of your warriors, you might stand in the same position for a long time. So they suggest not doing things like that and just continually moving through.
Yeah.
You want to avoid exhaustion.
Well, don't we all?
So exercise to a point where you're falling down dead tired because you have a baby to look after. So again, those extremes.
And if you're getting to that point, you're probably breaking some of the rules anyways in terms of sweat level.
Exactly.
Blood flow to the peripheries.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned, what did you mention? Heart rate. So again, I guess typically we're avoiding that maximal effort like physical activity, but you're still allowed to get quite out of breath. So we've mentioned, like I am right now.
It doesn't take much.
So we've mentioned before on this podcast the talk test. That kind of is a good measure of how intense your activity is. So if you can have full sentences during exercise, then it's relatively light intensity. If you can get out words and like short sentences, then you're kind of in that moderate intensity. If you can talk but not sing, that's kind of moderate.
Yeah.
And if you can't even
talk,
that's right. I was going to say.
You can't even sing.
You can't even sing.
Who tries to sing when they exercise?
Then if you can't talk at all, you're hitting into that vigorous intensity. Mm-hmm. So, kind of staying out of those max efforts. So that is probably all there is on heart rate. There used to be things where they said don't let your heart rate get above this number. That's not really true.
Yeah, okay.
Because your heart rate varies anyway during pregnancy. Like there are extra stresses, so it's not as reliable. So we'd go more off effort.
Yes.
Which is like if you know the scale out of 20, the Borg scale, so 13 to 14 out of 20, 20 being max effort.
Okay.
7 being an easy walk. Mm-hmm. You're like somewhat hard.
Yeah.
Kind of in that zone.
Yeah, okay.
That's probably pretty good.
What I'm kind of getting from this is that, maybe heart rate got a bad rap, but it's not the heart rate that's the issue. It's the other things associated with a heart rate being that high, like maybe holding your breath or not taking deep breaths and getting oxygen to the right places. That's the issue.
Or fatigue or risk of falling because you're so tired and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so stay definitely within comfort levels in a sense.
Are you even anaerobic training? That would probably be, I think in terms of like heart rate zones.
Yeah, no, that would be okay. Again, you're just like maybe being a bit more forgiving on maybe have more rest time.
That's what I was thinking.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I remember I don't really like that kind of training anyway. But some of my earlier workouts with you, I was still doing med ball slams and we kind of were still playing around with things like that.
And you were taking longer rests.
Yeah. Because I had to. Like, I was wrecked.
And I feel like the body kind of tells you as well. Like, I feel like, not that I'm pregnant, but, like, if I was, you'd kind of know when enough was enough.
Yes. So making sure you're listening to that.
Yeah.
Is probably a really nice way to kind of
when you feel like it's
summarize.
Too much, it's too much.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, so this isn't a time to press for a personal best or to beat the lady next to you in the spin class or whatever. Yeah. Like, just chill. It's fine. You've got more important things to work on than getting your squat max effort and stuff in.
Yeah.
So definitely chill out a little bit on that stuff.
There's certainly different populations, hey, because coming from our background, I feel like me, definitely, if I was to be pregnant, I'd be more of the Abby, calm yourself down, because I'd be so used to pushing hard.
Yeah.
But I feel like we're probably a smaller population than those will be like, oh, I'm pregnant, sweet, gonna do nothing.
Gotta hang out and do nothing, absolutely. Yeah.
So it's like that middle ground.
Which is really like every time we do one of these episodes, I feel I bring it up. Just moderation. It's all
not that hard.
Stick down the middle, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't overcomplicate things.
Absolutely. And then one more to mention there is you want to avoid lying on your back or exercising on your back after week 16. So about 4 months in, they reckon avoid exercising on your back. But funnily enough, when you're sleeping, the cutoff I was given was 28 weeks, so quite a while later. But I've got some ideas as to why that might be. But what the kind of theory is behind this is that because of the extra weight of baby, when you lie on your back, that weight can, not in everyone, but can limit the blood flow back to your heart and restrict then blood flow around the body. So you might feel dizzy and sick and just off, and then potentially that can flow through to baby getting restricted blood flow as well, which is something we are really trying to avoid. I did try and do a deep dive into this a while ago, and I'm going to continue that and prep more for next time when we talk to Renee about it. Because it's a good guideline, and I'm definitely not going to push back on the guideline. I think it's a overly cautious guideline.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking in my head, I certainly have Pilates clients that exercise on their back.
Yeah.
And my understanding was, I'm very much aware of the issue with restricted blood flow.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm excited to hear from you is whether or not restricted blood flow always has the symptoms.
And that's what my deep dive
know?
Went into. Yeah. And it is a bit tricky, and it's where I kind of went, when in doubt, don't lie on your back. But that's definitely something I have been looking into and trying to wrap my head around, and I'm interested in Renee's opinion on that as well. Because, typically, I would do it, and then if mum felt sick, you roll onto your side and have a breath.
Same. That's how I'm kind of working.
Yeah. But then definitely so into the 20s and into the 30 weeks, I just would avoid it completely.
Yeah.
Because it can have a risk of stillbirth. It can increase risk of stillbirth if you spend prolonged time on your back.
How long is prolonged?
Yeah, so that's when we're going into where I talked about that differing time where I've been told you can't sleep on your back after 28 weeks. So we're talking hours on your back, right?
Okay.
Yeah. But then the risk versus reward for me goes way down. So I've done glute bridges because getting my glutes firing really, really helps how my pelvis feels. Mm-hmm. So I've done kind of that inverted kind of feeling, or I'll prop my shoulders up on a bench.
Yes.
And do more where your end position is supine in a sense, and then you come back out of it.
Yes.
But to me, the reward of doing things on your back isn't worth it. So I have been avoiding it.
Yeah, so you're there's more I can do in an upright position.
Yeah, or side lying or 4-point or things like that.
Yeah.
Particularly if we're talking Pilates, that most of my clients, I just try and avoid it.
Yeah.
I think glute bridges are my only kind of exception that I think are beneficial enough that I would get them doing a good set of those. But coming into dead bugs and stuff, I would rather do abs in a different position.
Yeah. Are we going to talk about that with Renee?
With Renee, yeah.
Okay, good. I've got a lot of questions about that.
Because it's definitely less scary than it's been made out to be. You absolutely can and should work your abdominals when you're pregnant, and we will talk more about that.
It's always, that's
Renee.
something that because you find a lot of pregnant clients, because once again, they don't feel any negative effects, and they're like, why can't I do a chest lift? And it's I know you feel like you want to do it, but let me tell you a little bit about what can happen.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's pretty normal. So if you know what we're talking about when your abs can separate a little bit, and we'll explain that better next week. But I've got some, it's pretty unavoidable, and I've got a pretty fun separation happening, and I get so interested by it. And I found it when I was putting on my pants one day because I leaned back while sitting down to pull my pants up, and then my belly went pop, and I went, and then I showed Isaac, and he got really freaked out. And I had a physio friend over, and I went, look. And she was like, stop doing it. I was like, three times I've done it, and now I'm going to stop. But it's so intriguing because you never see your belly react that way. So you get this little doming, this little tent that happens down the middle where your topmost abs have kind of been pressed out. They've been stretched.
And what I've heard is the stronger it is before you fall pregnant, the more likely you are. This
is where, again, so I've done a bit of a deep dive as well, and listened to some podcasts recently, and some of it isn't as dire as we once thought it was. It's fine. But definitely some considerations there still that we will talk about with Renee. Definitely. Oh, and then avoiding pressure changes. So if you're a scuba diver, please stop.
Oh, God. Okay.
Skydiving, probably not.
Oh, my God. Common sense, people.
Things like that. If you already live in high altitude, then you're fine, but don't go training in high altitude or visiting high altitude places when you're pregnant. Again, avoiding the extremes is a pretty nice way to look
Anyone that
at
listens does skydiving or scuba diving on the reg, can you send us a message?
Yeah.
Because for one, I want to be your
friend.
What
a cool lifestyle, yeah.
And for two, just stop.
If you're pregnant.
You must know.
Some definite things to make you stop exercising I wanted to cover today. So if you start bleeding, well, mostly from anywhere, but vaginal bleeding, please stop. If you have some fluid leakage, please stop. If you're crazy short of breath, relax, particularly before exercising. So if you're already out of breath, take it easy. If you feel dizzy or faint, chill out. If your chest starts hurting, chill out. If your calves start cramping or you get like a rapid change in swelling, stop.
Yeah.
If baby starts to move less than you're used to, stop. And if preterm labour was on the list. So if you're going to early labour, stop the workout.
See, that's what I'd be that person that's like, I just need to finish the set.
Waters are broken, but she's
towel
got 5
down.
on.
I've got to finish this.
I've got a minute till the next contraction. I'm good to go.
Quick, let's put in some high knees. Wow.
So, yeah, just be nice and stop if things feel weird. Like I was getting some weird stitches like at some weeks, and so you just stop and sit down until that went away, things like that. And then what you were mentioning, so this is quick, what kind of exercise is most beneficial and when? There's not really too many different things I would consider between first, second and third trimester. Okay. Lots of people will try and tell you and they will like sell you things based on trimester and stuff, but it's not really that specific. First is kind of continue as usual as you can around morning sickness and fatigue and things like that. Second trimester you usually feel a little bit better, but that's when I had most of my aches and pains, so I just had to kind of listen to that. My pelvis started hurting anytime I was on like single leg, so I stopped lunges and like single leg stance, and even if I was on hands and knees, I can't bring one leg off the floor anymore because the weight of it on my pelvis hurts. So I just don't. So I do other things instead. And we'll talk more about that with Renee because I had a conversation with her about making sure I was doing the right things. So listening to yourself. Swimming is really nice. So your belly starts to feel really, really heavy. And having that weightlessness of water is really quite a lovely feeling for me at least. Pelvic floor, you want to be making sure that you're being nice to your pelvic floor. We will talk to Renee about that next time as well. I can definitely start to feel some change. It's a whole like coordinated effort to sneeze sometimes where I have to go, all right, and lift and time and sneeze. Otherwise there will be stuff coming out that I don't want coming out. And prenatal classes are good mostly from a social aspect. So it's really, really fun talking to other pregnant ladies, I found. And so being in a prenatal class or a pregnancy class gives you that opportunity to share experiences and to build up a network of people in a similar position to you. So yes, there will be tailored exercises to you, and those like things to avoid are easier to avoid because the person taking the class knows them. But I think mostly for things like that, it's having ladies around you in a similar position.
What about laying on your tummy? Sorry, I just had a thought.
So not once your belly's big.
Yeah.
I didn't like the feeling of stretching my tummy from like early days. So while I still had not a belly in the way to lie on my belly, if I like pushed up into back extension, it really stretched and I was not comfortable in that position. And then belly just gets in the way. And again, that's coming into like pressure and compression, which you wouldn't want.
From the back or the front.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But then that's like really common sense. Like I wouldn't even think of lying on my belly now.
No.
Even before I really started showing, it made me uncomfortable.
I was just thinking, like early stages when you're not really showing, I definitely find
first trimester, fine.
Yeah,
fine. Once you start like feeling movements and stuff, this is just me talking. I'd probably avoid it. And then once your belly's big, don't do it.
I'm just picturing just like a little squished baby.
I know, exactly. Poor baby.
Actually, what's going on though because of the musculature?
Things would move and things would compress. But I guess what I would think about then is there's a spine at the back that can't move out of the way. So like there is some kind of blockage, kind of whatever there that can't move out of the way for baby.
And that could increase pressure in some aspects.
Yeah, exactly. And then, again, just like what are you getting from lying on your tummy?
Yeah, why do you have to?
Yeah.
I tend to put people in kneeling and just get them doing the same thing.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's definitely avoidable quite easily. You can, for like resting and stuff, you can get like a long body pillow and like make a donut and your belly can sit in the middle.
Yeah.
And if you get a prenatal like massage or something, they will have a special kind of chair that has space for your belly to sit in, so it's not being compressed. But yeah.
That's cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was helpful. I'm very excited to talk to Renee.
Yeah, me too.
I've got so many questions to fire
absolutely.
off.
Yeah. And so, I just wanted to kind of like lay the introductory groundwork today.
Like,
and go over the things. Yeah. Go over the things that are like common sensey. And then we can kind of, dive a bit more into the bits and pieces. Gestational diabetes, pelvic pain, back pain.
Yeah.
You can get high blood pressure and preeclampsia and things like that. So we'll kind of talk about those more. Multiple babies in your belly at once. I don't really know if that changes too much, so we'll ask her about that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Shelbs.
No worries. Thanks for listening.
It's going to be so cool when your little bub like listens to this and they can look back on this and be like, she was talking about me. Wow.
Good. Hopefully my huffing and puffing into the microphone was okay. It's been a good month since we've recorded.
A lot changes.
And I can feel the difference.
Shelby in a month.
Yeah, absolutely. And then maybe one day I'll be able to have sleeping baby here while we record. We'll see.
Fun. And then a little toddler.
Oh, that's going to be annoying.
That's husband's job. Good time.
All right. Thanks so much for listening.